We're tracking what's about to become one of the most explosive weather events of the entire season. An absolutely massive bomb cyclone is organizing right now, and it's going to unleash a paralyzing blizzard across the Midwest that will shut down travel completely. But that's just one piece of this story, because while the North gets buried under feet of snow, we've got severe weather brewing in the Ohio Valley, a dangerous ice storm setting up in the Northeast, and an Arctic cold front so sharp it's going to drop temperatures 40 degrees in just a few hours. This is meteorological chaos on multiple fronts simultaneously. We just watched a decent storm push through the Northeast last night, dropping significant snow across the region. Now there's a ridge in place with warm air continuing to flood into the central and southern United States, but that setup is about to get violently disrupted. We've got a major low-pressure system coming over the Rockies right now, and it's about to gain serious steam as it crosses the plains. Tonight into tomorrow, this system starts vacuuming up massive amounts of Gulf moisture, and that's when things get absolutely wild. This is going to be our dominant player tomorrow as we track one of the strongest storms we've seen all season, a system that's going to explosively intensify into a bomb cyclone directly over the Great Lakes. When meteorologists use that term, we're talking about a really powerful low-pressure system that doesn't just gradually strengthen, it intensifies violently and rapidly. Most low-pressure systems deepen and get stronger slowly as they track northward. But some undergo explosive development where the intensification happens extremely fast, and that's exactly what we're looking at here. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. This rapid deepening process is going to drag down an enormous amount of cold air on the backside of the system, and when that Arctic air collides with all that Gulf moisture, you get blizzard conditions. The bullseye for this blizzard is the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, with eastern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan directly in the crosshairs. This system ramps up Sunday night and reaches peak intensity Monday morning, bringing travel to a complete standstill across huge sections of Wisconsin and especially the UP of Michigan. This is going to be a legitimately historic event for those areas. The meteorological science behind this is absolutely fascinating. We've got a textbook bombogenesis setup where phasing shortwave energy creates a vacuum of low pressure, tightening the pressure gradient dramatically to produce wind gusts exceeding 50 to 60 miles per hour. Check this out. We're looking at a 971 millibar low-pressure system sitting right over the Great Lakes as we push into Monday. That's an extraordinarily deep low for this region. There's going to be insane lake effect enhancement even across the main portion of Michigan on Monday. It's going to be windy, visibility is going to collapse into complete whiteout conditions, and it's going to be an absolute mess. Snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour combined with those high winds create whiteout conditions that make travel not just difficult, but genuinely impossible. I'm particularly concerned about the upper peninsula of Michigan because that's where conditions are going to reach their most intense. We're not just talking about a few hours of heavy snow, we're looking at prolonged blizzard conditions extending for many hours, dangerously low temperatures crashing in on the backside, and snow accumulations approaching 30 inches in a relatively short period. Numerous locations are going to see 20 inches of snow. Even up in northern Wisconsin, we're talking well over a foot of accumulation. But here's what's interesting about the gradient with this system. You don't have to travel very far to see dramatically less snow. Madison, Wisconsin, for example, is only expecting around 3 inches. Minneapolis is looking at maybe 6 or 7 inches. Western Michigan, similar story with 6 to 7 inches possible, but that bullseye zone, eastern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, the UP, that's where the truly exceptional totals set up, even if you don't get a foot or more of snow. You're absolutely going to feel this storm's impact across Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota in terms of the brutal winds and the massive temperature drop that follows. Air travel is definitely getting disrupted. We're expecting flight cancellations at airports around Duluth, Marquette, and throughout the region. If you have travel plans anywhere near this zone, you need to be prepared for major disruptions. Now, there are two completely different sides to this storm system, and that's what makes it so meteorologically complex. While the north freezes under blizzard conditions, a sneaky, severe weather threat is developing Sunday across the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. This is a pretty intimidating-looking upper-level trough configuration. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This has classic severe weather signals written all over it for the Ohio Valley. But there's one crucial factor that makes this significantly less threatening than it could be: instability. We're going to have tremendous wind shear. We're going to have really strong mid-level winds. We'll even have decent moisture available. But those CAPE values, that's convective available potential energy, essentially thunderstorm fuel, aren't going to be super high. That's going to keep the storms low-topped rather than the big, tall supercells you see during major tornado outbreaks. While low-top storms are less threatening overall, they pose their own specific problems. Damaging winds are going to be the primary concern here, but we absolutely cannot rule out a tornado or two. The window for severe weather opens Sunday afternoon and extends well into the overnight hours, making this a nocturnal threat for millions of people. Indianapolis, Memphis, this is going to be happening at night for those locations. We've got unseasonably warm, moist air surging northward ahead of this extremely sharp cold front, interacting with very strong wind shear. That's 3 out of 4 ingredients needed for a major severe weather or tornado outbreak. We're missing adequate instability, and thankfully that's going to turn down the overall threat considerably. But the primary hazards remain damaging wind gusts with a low-topped squall line, and we can't completely rule out a few quick spin-up tornadoes. There will likely be several tornado warnings issued around St. Louis, probably extending toward Indianapolis, but I don't think we're looking at a huge tornado outbreak situation. This setup has prompted a marginal risk, Level 1 out of 5, for severe weather covering Arkansas, Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, and Kentucky, including cities like Clarksville, Tennessee. I'm thinking there's a chance we could see a slight risk embedded within that broader marginal zone, potentially by tomorrow. This is definitely a candidate for live coverage, so make sure you're subscribed. While we've got the blizzard raging up north and severe weather firing in the Ohio Valley, the Northeast is going to be dealing with a very dangerous ice storm. We're going to have warm air at mid-levels overriding very cold air locked in at the surface across the Northeast and southern portions of Canada. This classic overrunning setup is going to produce a significant ice storm, dropping up to half an inch of ice accumulation for many areas in Canada and some portions of the northeastern United States. The U.S. impact will be concentrated in relatively low population areas, but for the people who are affected, this is going to be incredibly dangerous. I'm keeping close watch on the Adirondacks and central New Hampshire particularly. Models are showing strong signals for potentially over half an inch of ice in those regions, which will absolutely cause power outages and create extremely treacherous travel conditions. The latest GFS model run is quite aggressive with ice totals, and I think the bullseye is setting up right in that zone. It wouldn't surprise me at all if a few locations received over 3/4 of an inch of ice. That level of accumulation will definitely cause significant power infrastructure problems. Make sure you're prepared for this across upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and southern Canada, where we're going to see substantial ice as a result of this overrunning effect, where it's warm a couple thousand feet up, cold at the surface, rain falls, but doesn't have time to freeze before hitting the ground, then instantly turns to ice on impact. But here's what I think is actually the most dangerous aspect of this entire storm system for the greatest number of people. It's not the snow, it's not the severe weather, it's the temperature crash. We've got a classic Arctic front sweeping through, and this is an exceptionally sharp one. Look at that temperature gradient. It's absolutely dramatic. All these warm temperatures we've been experiencing across huge sections of the country are going to get ripped away extremely fast. We've been running 20 to 40 degrees above average in many locations. Now we're about to immediately flip in the opposite direction. You can see very clearly on the models that razor-sharp cold front driving through on Sunday into Monday. This front blasts through the plains Sunday and reaches the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes by Monday morning, affecting major cities like St. Louis, Detroit, and Chicago. Temperatures are going to plummet 20 to 40 degrees in just a few hours. Picture this, it's 60 degrees in Chicago, and then a couple hours later, it could be at freezing or below. That's an incredibly sharp cold front, and it's bringing a massive area of Arctic air to the vast majority of the US population as we push into Monday. This creates what meteorologists call a flash freeze event. We're going to have storms and rain falling, then immediately the air temperatures crash through freezing and snow starts falling in many locations. All that rain and water on surfaces is going to freeze solid, creating major travel problems Monday morning across the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes region. You need to be ready for extremely hazardous conditions. What happens next is that cold air starts moving over the Great Lakes, and that turns our lake effect snow machines back on at full capacity. We are going to be talking about feet of snow again across upstate New York, western New York, and northwestern Pennsylvania over the next week or so. Multiple rounds of intense lake effect bands are going to hammer places that have honestly already been hit pretty hard this year by lake effect snow. This event kicks off Tuesday and persists through Thursday as the coldest air of the season rushes over those lakes. The lakes are still relatively warm and unfrozen, which creates the perfect ingredients for prolific lake effect snow. Get ready for that. 1 to 2 feet of accumulation is possible in the most persistent lake effect bands, with snowfall rates intense enough to paralyze local travel. Buffalo, Watertown, all the traditional lake effect snowbelts need to prepare for another significant round. And believe it or not, there's actually more to discuss beyond even all of this, but I'm going to stop here because we'll definitely have daily videos as things continue to ramp up. The weather is getting seriously intense and extremely active. We're going to have multiple storms to track over the coming days. Buckle up, because winter is showing us exactly what it's capable of when everything comes together. This bomb cyclone is the real deal, and its impacts are going to be felt across an enormous section of the country in different ways. Make sure you're prepared, stay informed, and stay safe out there as this massive system unfolds.